Hey guys, it's Danny. Alrighty, today I'm starting an exciting project, actually, the Vanda seedling. So what you see there is a whole bunch of Vanda seedlings sent in by my viewer Habib. Thank you so much for sharing your Vanda seedlings with me. They've arrived in good condition actually, considering they spent 18 days on transport. Why does this happen to me? Anyway, they look pretty good. Now these Vandas are a cross between the Vanda tessellata and the Denisoniana. Not sure how it's supposed to look like, and because they're seedlings, there is a great chance that neither of them are identical. So I've received these seedlings bare root, but because they are very young, they're also very fragile. And even if they're Vandas, they do require more moisture and more constant water than a fully grown Vanda. So I've already started to make up a setup for them. I have 2 more to pot up, so I'll take you along with me and explain a whole bunch of things about my setup. And towards the end of the video, a little bit of a discussion about microfiber, because yes, I'm using microfiber with these seedlings. Alrighty, let's get to work. Alrighty, so orchid seedlings, as I was saying, require more moisture and in a more constant manner. And this is because they don't yet have the organs that store water fully formed. And even if they're formed, they're pretty tiny. So no matter the orchid seedlings, most people use either sphagnum moss, either small bark chips, orchids that generally do well hanging or mounted without any type of medium. When they're seedlings, they would do a little bit better if they're potted, particularly if you don't have time or the means to run sprinklers 5 times a day. And so for these seedlings, I will opt for a sort of a potted manner as well, but it will be a combination between a basket style and my current Vanda setup that I really like, which includes a very ventilated pot taking the place of the basket, and also some microfiber strands in between the root system to maintain that water for longer, particularly in my environment. I think the combination of these 2 setups will provide me the effects that I want for these seedlings. So let's explain. As you can see, we have microfiber. This is your typical microfiber that you can find available in supermarkets. Mine just happens to come from a mop. It is brand new, not used. I divide each strand in another 4 thinner strands. This will allow me to play around a little bit more with it and place it better around the roots, which are very tiny on these seedlings. So with the use of a scissors, I simply cut 4 strands of microfiber from 1 big strand of this mop. Then I'm using polystyrene, which is a crowd favorite actually. It's pretty used in orchid growing. In my setup though, polystyrene is used to maintain orchids above whatever pools of water might form by mistake in my little pot, but that's a secondary function. The main function actually is to maintain the little seedling in place. Microfiber is a little bit too flexible and it can compact, it can go to places where I don't want it to go, and it cannot really hold these seedlings upright and above the moisture. So these are the 2 components that I'm gonna use as medium, and the 3rd component will be, let's say, a pot. This is not a pot. This is actually a cup used for cookies, I suppose. You can find stuff like these in supermarkets, hypermarkets, whatever. I chose this cup because, as you can see, it is rather wide than tall. And that's what I want. These seedlings do not have a long root system. And moreover, because they grew in agar, in what I assume was a casserole or a bottle, their roots are not arranged downwards, but horizontally. And so this cup will give me horizontal space, not a lot of vertical space, because I do want the actual plant, the stem and the leaves to be very ventilated. Also, I did not place any drainage holes in these little cups, nor did I place any ventilation holes. There is actually no need. The cup is only a support. It serves the means of actually making the orchid sit straight and above excessive water. That's all there is to it. These seedlings will not be watered as I usually water my orchids, nor they will be flushed. They will consume a lot less nutrients, so I will not fertilize as much. Also, the microfiber is very absorbent, so whatever little pool of water I have in my cup, as long as the microfiber is not already soaked, it will suck it up right away and distribute it everywhere. And that's pretty much it. And with that said, let's pot some orchids, and then we'll talk a little bit more about the setup and have a more extended discussion regarding the materials we use with orchids. Alrighty, so the first layer at the bottom is the polystyrene layer. This will maintain the orchid above the actual bottom of the cup. And then I will place 2 or 3 strands of microfiber in the cup. At this point, I don't really care how it's arranged. And then we'll get one of the seedlings, place it on top, and as we can see, we need a little piece of polystyrene right here. And then just for some easy maneuvering, I'm gonna cut one of the strands in 2 and I will place half of it on this side, on top of some of the roots, and the other strand behind the orchid. And at this point, I am completely done. My aim is not to place medium around all of the roots, but just to maintain some moisture in the vicinity of the roots. I am also making sure that the microfiber doesn't touch the orchid stem. It doesn't keep it way soggy, because these orchids have spent so much time on transport that I do see some blackening at the very end there. I hope it's nothing. Chances are it will be okay, but I don't want excessive moisture in that area. Development of the roots will maintain that area pretty wet anyway, so no point in doing it more excessive than it should be. Second one, very same thing, and I was not in focus, sorry about that. It's just like a cooking show. Add polystyrene as much as the dough can handle, and then some microfiber to top it off. There we go, this is the seedling. I actually didn't give you a close-up. As you can see, the roots are displayed horizontally. The seedling already has a little bit of an axis. We already have some leaves. They look okay considering 18 days on transport. And it's very, very tiny. And there we go. That's all there is to it. Alrighty, now that my seedlings are all potted up, it's time to water them. And as I was saying, watering will be slightly different. Since my little pots don't have drainage holes, of course, I will need to control the quantity of water that I add to these pots. The materials I use will help me distribute it evenly, but still it's up to me to control how much water I actually give these orchids. So to make my life easier, I am using a wash bottle. You might remember this. It's really a lifesaver when you're working with very tiny orchids. And all I'm gonna do is just direct water and try to wet the microfiber. As you can see, the jet is not a strong one. And as you can see, I do have places where the microfiber is not wet, but not to worry, if the microfiber is soaked, it will deliver water. I don't think it's completely soaked though, so I'm just gonna add a little bit more. And that's about it. Let's check the bottom. There is no pool of water at the bottom. And even if there was, the microfiber would absorb it. So let's do the same with this orchid. Alrighty, so I left a little pool of water right here. Oops, don't tell me it went away. Oh no, it didn't go away. If I do this and I let the microfiber soak it up, then as you can see, the pool of water is gone. This is one of the nice things about microfiber. And of course, if you're gonna tilt the pots, make sure the microfiber doesn't fall on the orchids. Alrighty, now let's get into the second part of the video and let's connect the two parts. Why am I using this setup? Well, first of all, I have to think of what I want for these seedlings, what effects I want to have from the materials that I use. So being that they're vandas, I want to have a good ratio between air and water, and preferably have more air than water. My little setup provides a lot of air. As you can see, there are more pockets of air here than actual medium. The microfiber retains water, but the polystyrene doesn't. Also, the little pots that I use give me a lot of ventilation, even without the drainage holes, because they are very wide. And the amount of medium is not thick. This is one thing I was aiming for, not a thick layer of medium, just something to maintain humidity. So regarding the water-air ratio, I think this setup is providing exactly what I wanted to provide. It doesn't promote excessive water, and even if I have excessive water, being that this is very open, it will evaporate very fast. Another thing that helps with evaporation is the fact that I am using microfiber rather than letting water pool. Disrupting the water tension actually helps with evaporation. And I actually did a little experiment, you can check it down below. There are certain substances that break water tension, actually surface tension, and the result of that is water evaporating faster. Another way to break water tension though is by the use of irregular materials, or materials that are a little bit porous, they have a shape, they're not completely flat. And by the use of microfiber and also the polystyrene, I'm not letting water ever create a pool, a very straight surface. Another good thing about water evaporating faster than it would with surface tension is humidity. As you can see, my seedlings are not above the pot. And this is what I was aiming for as well. Seedlings usually need more humidity in the air, or they will benefit more from humidity in the air, since they are coming from a medium which is very, very humid, a flask, a bottle in which they stayed sealed for a year. So the transition to terrestrial life needs to be a little bit more gradual. So the combined powers of my little pot right here, very white pot, with the tallness of the pot and of my seedling, and with the use of my materials, favorizes humidity right here in the vicinity of the orchid seedling without actually cutting ventilation, which is very, very important as well, because the seedling can be attacked by fungi and rots and molds and everything you can imagine at this point. Is my medium toxic for my seedlings, or will it become toxic in the future? No, it is inorganic, it doesn't decompose, also it doesn't leach out anything unwanted. But a little remark here, there is microfiber with very strong colors. Depending on the brand, it can leach in the water. This one doesn't leach, but if you ever want to play with microfiber, maybe you should get a white or cream one, not a strong color. And thank you, Anna, for pointing this out. She's actually using cream-colored microfiber. So for all intents and purposes, my setup is pretty safe for my seedlings. Of course, it is prone to certain stuff. It might be prone to some algae, but not as much because it is very ventilated. It might be prone to some molds in the wintertime, but now it's summertime, and in the wintertime I can actually control the amount of water. Things are controllable, even with these disadvantages that pretty much any type of medium might have. So my conclusion is the setup is viable. I will now place my seedlings in a very bright location, but with no direct sunshine. Seedlings cannot handle direct sunshine, even if vandas can. At this stage, better to provide bright shade or very filtered sunlight, which is what I shall be providing. Temperatures will not go extremely high, even though vandas are warm growers. They shall be warm. Pretty much I shall pamper these little orchids, and that's about it. Okay, so as I was editing, I noticed the video is already 12 minutes long. It's already too long, so we'll leave the discussion for another time, maybe tomorrow. And we'll end it here today. Thank you guys so much for watching. Hope you've enjoyed it. I'll keep you up to date. Really excited about these seedlings. Thank you so much, Habib, for sharing your seedlings with me. I would have never purchased them myself, really, because we are looking at around 5 to 7 years from this moment until we might see a little bloom. So it's a long-term project, but it will be fun, of course. And if you want to see how these orchids will bloom, just stay subscribed for the next 5 to 7 years. Easy, right? Alrighty, so if you've enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you hated it, give it a thumbs down. You know the drill. If you would enjoy to see other videos from me on a regular basis, just subscribe to my channel and don't forget to turn on notifications so you never miss a video. And with that said, I'll see you all next time. Bye! Speaking about being hung up on stuff, I'm so hung up on my little orchid, which is not little by far. Oops, let's zoom you out. Oh my goodness! Such a big flower and so beautiful. I have to say, in the nighttime, my whole greenhouse is so perfumed, and it lasts until the morning time, until let's say 9 o'clock in the morning. The smell is a little bit different than a Brassavola. There is clear Brassavola influences, but it developed into something a little bit fruity, which I am really enjoying.